Okay, you've probably heard of this one, the famous marshmallow test. It's one of those experiments that just everyone knows. The idea was simple, right? A test of a kid's willpower with a single marshmallow, and it supposedly could unlock the secrets to their entire future. But what if that story, the one we all know, isn't really the whole story?
I mean, it's a wild idea, isn't it? The thought that a 4-year-old sitting all by themselves in a room with one little treat could somehow reveal their whole destiny. But is it really about self-control, or is there something, I don't know, something much deeper going on here? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the legendary experiment itself. Then we'll look at why everyone thought it was such a big deal, this amazing predictor of success. After that, things get complicated. There's a major plot twist. We'll explore why it might not be about willpower at all. And finally, get to what this classic test really measures.
So, let's go back. Our story kicks off in the 1960s at Stanford University. It all started with what seemed like a pretty simple idea, but wow, it would end up having some huge consequences.
So, at its heart, this whole experiment was trying to measure something called delay of gratification. And really, it's a choice we all face, like all the time. Do you take the small, easy reward right now, or can you wait, hold out for something way better down the road? It's that classic battle of resisting temptation to get to a bigger goal.
And the setup for this thing? It was so simple, it was brilliant. The researcher, a guy named Walter Mischel, would bring a little 4-year-old kid into a room and lay out a deal. He'd say, look, here's one marshmallow. You can eat it right now if you want, but if you can just wait for me to come back, which could be like 15 minutes, you'll get 2. And then, poof, the researcher would leave and the clock would start ticking. Talk about pressure.
Okay, so this is where the legend really takes off, because this wasn't just about whether a kid ate a marshmallow or not. No. It was about what happened years later and what their wait time seemed to predict.
I mean, Mischel and his team followed these kids for decades. And when the results started rolling in, they were an absolute bombshell. It was like there was this straight, unbroken line connecting how long a kid waited for that second marshmallow to how successful they were later in life. The takeaways seem so clear. Willpower was like the master key to everything. And we're talking about really specific, impressive stuff here. The longer a preschooler waited, the higher their SAT scores were. They were better with people, they could handle stress better, they had a stronger sense of self-worth. Get this, even their body mass index, their BMI, was lower 30 years later. It was just such a powerful, easy-to-understand story.
So, you're probably wondering, how many kids actually made it? How many passed the test? Well, in those first studies, it was only about a third of them. Yep, only about 33% of the kids managed to wait the whole time for that second marshmallow. These were the kids they called the high delayers, the ones who, seemed like they were set for life.
And for decades, that was the story. Period. Willpower is everything. But you know how it is in science, stories can change. And believe me, a major plot twist was just around the corner.
Right. So other researchers started to poke at this. They started asking some really important questions. Like, yeah, the original findings were mind-blowing, but would they actually hold up if we looked at them again, with fresh eyes? Was waiting for a marshmallow really about some kind of built-in character trait, or was there something else going on?
And the whole thing really starts to unravel when you put the original studies side by side with a big replication study from 2018. Just look at this. Michel's first study, super small, less than 90 kids, and they were all kids of Stanford faculty, not exactly a diverse group. The new study, over 900 kids from all over the US, a much more representative sample. And the conclusion they came to? Man, it could not have been more different.
Okay, so this is the real kicker. The new study found that as soon as you control for things like family income or the home environment, all that amazing predictive power of the marshmallow test, it basically vanished. The link between waiting and doing well in school later, it dropped by 2/3. All of a sudden, this wasn't looking like a test of willpower anymore. It was starting to look a lot more like a test of a kid's background.
And that discovery just blew the doors wide open for a totally new way of thinking about what was really going on in that little room with the marshmallow. So you end up with these two competing ideas. On one hand, you have the old willpower theory, that waiting is all about a kid's inner self-control. But then you have this new idea, the social trust theory. And this one suggests something totally different, that a child's choice is actually a smart, logical calculation based on their environment. It's not about what's inside you, it's about what the world has taught you to expect.
So, to test this new idea, scientists came up with this really clever experiment. Before they even brought out the marshmallows, they split the kids into two groups. The first group got to interact with a reliable adult. This grown-up promised them some cool new art supplies and sure enough, came back with them. The second group, they dealt with an unreliable adult who made the exact same promise but came back with nothing. Then and only then did both groups get the marshmallow test with that same adult.
And the results? Whoa, they were dramatic. The kids who had learned that the adult was reliable, that they kept their promises, they waited, on average, 12 minutes. But the kids who had been taught that adults break their promises, they only waited about 3 minutes. See? Their decision to just eat the marshmallow wasn't a failure of willpower. It was a smart, logical move based on their recent experience. I mean, why would you wait for a second treat that you have every reason to believe is never going to show up?
So all of this, it brings us to a much deeper and frankly more interesting understanding of what this famous test is all about. Yeah, a couple of researchers summed it up perfectly. They said, look, the marshmallow test is predictive, but not because it's measuring some kind of raw internal willpower. It's predictive because it's basically a stand-in, a reflection of a child's early environment. It tells you about the stability and the trust that a kid has experienced in their life, and those are the things that really truly matter for success in the long run.
This just completely changes how we should look at this, right? A kid who eats the marshmallow right away isn't weak or bad. They might just be making the most rational choice possible based on the world they know. Think about it. If your life has been unpredictable, if promises have been broken over and over, then taking this sure thing right in front of you isn't just a good idea, it's the smartest thing you can do. It's an adaptation. It is not a character flaw.
And that leaves us with a really big final question to chew on, the marshmallow test. You know, it started out as this simple little test of a kid's self-control. But maybe all along it wasn't really testing the child at all. Maybe it's been holding up a mirror to us, testing the reliability and the fairness of the world that we've built for them. Now that is something to think about.